So the source is really emphasizing that diplomatic engagement needs to support the official structures, not go around them.
That's the core message there. Diplomacy should strengthen institutional legitimacy, not substitute for it by engaging with non-institutional players.
Okay, so we've talked about external tethers, that C6 plus legacy, certain diplomatic practices as described by the source, but the paper also digs into internal constraints. And it calls one perhaps the most entrenched constraint, this issue of recycling political elites.
Yeah, this is highlighted as a really sticky internal problem, a major rope holding things back. The author describes this pattern.
What pattern?
Where often under the banner of inclusive dialogue, former leaders, past presidents, prime ministers, speakers, even MPs keep getting brought back into the political mix.
Reinserted into the process.
Exactly. And the source is pretty sharp in its critique of this.
Why? What's the argument against it?
The argument is, look, many of these individuals already had their chance. And during their time in power, they either didn't manage to bring about real reform or, in some cases, were allegedly part of the problem, corruption, fragmentation, etc. So bringing them back isn't just seen as a habit. The source calls it a soft form of coercion. They return based on their old titles, not a fresh mandate from voters.
And the source notes?
And the source notes, often this happens with foreign facilitation.
So it's not about winning elections or public backing now?
Not at all. The source is really clear on this. It argues this recycling is fundamentally undemocratic. It completely lacks public legitimacy, which, the paper stresses, can only come from the ballot box, from consent.
Right.
And it has no basis in Somalia's constitution. It's just another tether. Another way the old system persists and prevents a truly new representative political class from emerging.
Okay, so if we pull all these threads together, we have the vision, the partial reforms, but also the significant tethers, both external and internal. The source doesn't just diagnose the problem, though. It offers solutions, right? Concrete steps to fully untie the horse. What are the key recommendations?
Yeah, it outlines several pretty bold actions. First up, assert full political ownership.
Meaning
all electoral processes, all governance issues must be genuinely Somali-led and Somali-owned. External partners can support, sure, but they cannot direct or manage Somalia's internal political affairs. That's fundamental.
Okay, ownership first.
What else? Second, enforce the rejection of C6 plus PLEVA. That letter sent in June 2025. It needs to be more than paper. It has to translate into consistent policy.
Wow.
By actively dismantling any leftover parallel structures from that era, and by insisting that all international engagement flows through Somalia's recognized state institutions, no more side channels.
Make the legal moves stick in practice. Got it.
Third, hold diplomats accountable. The source argues diplomatic missions need to operate strictly within the Vienna Convention rules.
No freelance for them.
Much.
Yeah.
And those individuals perceived by the Somali government as engaging in political engineering or undermining institutions. The source says they must face consequences. It repeats the point about PNG being a sovereign right if conduct is out of line.
Play by the international rulebook. What's fourth?
Fourth, reject unelected political figures. This goes back to the elite recycling point. The source is adamant. Somalia's democratic future can't be built by bringing back the same figures associated with past failures or obstruction. Legitimacy, it says, must come from the ballot box, period.
No going back to those old models. Makes sense in their argument. And last one.
Finally,
Yeah.
reform international engagement models. This is a call to Somalia's partners. Change how you help. Any assistance, technical or financial, must be channeled in ways that actually strengthen Somalia's constitutional institutions. Don't bypass them, don't undermine them, reinforce them.
So wrapping up our deep dive here, what's the ultimate conclusion this paper draws about Somalia's path?
Well, the core takeaway isn't that Somalia's attempt at democracy has failed.
Yeah.
Not at all. The story the source tells is one of a process that has been deliberately held back, restrained. The author argues the Somali government has shown its hand through laws, through public buy-in, through specific diplomatic moves like rejecting C6+. It has stated its desire for real sovereignty, real self-governance.
But just stating it isn't the end game.
Definitely not, according to this paper. The author's final point is really powerful. These declarations, these legal steps, they must be matched with assertive action.
Action is key.
Yes. The paper basically says the time for elite deals, for relying on external structures for political guidance, for diplomatic ambiguity, that era needs to end. Decisively. The message is that the Somali people, through their government, aren't asking for permission. They're demanding the sovereign space to run their own country using their own laws and institutions.
The structures are there, the laws are passed, the voters are ready, the horse is ready.
That's the image, yes. And the source argues what's needed now is the will, the assertiveness, to remove those final constraints. The ropes, the paper concludes, need a clean cut, not just loosening or debating. Sovereignty has to be fully enacted, fully respected, both internally and by international partners.
It definitely paints a very clear, if challenging, picture. Okay, so thinking about this source, its argument about the tethered horse needing those ropes cut assertively. Here's something for you, the listener, to chew on. What does it really take for any nation, after it's legally declared its sovereignty, set up its democratic framework? What does it take to actually make that transition stick, to have that sovereignty fully respected and implemented, not just on paper, but in reality, especially when you're dealing with complex global politics and often powerful internal interests that might resist that change?